Hey, this is Steve Wiedemann. I'm going to do a quick video to talk about conversion paths and conversion funnels. The goal here is to try to understand how you can get a visitor to become a customer as quickly as possible. And I'm going to give you some of the examples that are my favorite while they're still online, because who knows how time flies and you go back and the site has been changed. What you're looking at on my screen is an example of a period where our website was tracking how many people were downloading ebooks, and we experimented with a few different call to actions and download buttons and different ways to try to get our conversion rate up. Originally, when we started, we launched this web page, and we were getting about 1 to 2% of the people who visited the web page to want to download the ebook. And you could see over the period here that we're looking at that we're able to get that conversion rate up to 5.74%. That means that I was able to capture the contact information for 5.74% of visitors, and I probably could have gotten even higher if I would have continued to test different call to actions and different images and different page layouts. I could have really nurtured that conversion rate into an ideal scenario. Now, an average conversion rate for a site that gets significant traffic is somewhere between 3 and 5%. So that means if you're over 5%, you're doing pretty good, provided you're actually capturing contact information and not just downloading a free white paper without them having to fill anything out. So for getting 5.74 is actually not too bad, especially for if you're doing any kind of AdWords. It's a really good conversion rate to have. So with that in mind, our goal is to try to increase conversions, and I'm going to show you some examples. The best example that I have of a site that converts and has not really ever changed is the Firefox homepage. There's no scrolling, there's only one call to action. The menu is at the bottom, not at the top, and it says free download. Historically, this page has likely been the best example of any landing page when it comes to conversion rate. The user knows exactly what to do. There's a strong heading at the top. Take control, choose Firefox, free download, done. Now what happens though if there's more options? What happens if every user doesn't want to download Firefox if they were here for something else? Well, back in 2007, I started to really pay attention to how conversions and conversion rates work and how we improve them. I started to learn about a product by Ion Interactive called Liveball. And Liveball basically allowed you to create several different conversion experiences and A/B test them in real time, up to a dozen different tests. Do you like this or do you like that? Do you like this one or do you like that one? Are you this type of person or that type of person? A/B questions. And the end result, as you can see just by looking at this diagram that I'm showing you from this dashboard that I pulled up in Google Images. Couldn't find anything recent, but this is the example that I remember being able to look at how they took that first set of questions and funneled the user into a completion. So you can see in this example that they had 2,000 respondents. They segmented them based on what the user was looking for, and they converted nearly 11%. And they ran these tests to see, again, which version of the questions or the tests or the assessments the users were filling out, and then optimizing, to really show the one that performs the best the most often. This works really well for paid ads, but for organic, it's a little bit more difficult. So for organic, again, you want to test probably in intervals of like a month to 2 months at a time. But it was a really good example of how important it is to not just shove a form in a user's face, or to not just put a button that says click here to contact us. That does not work anymore, and if you are using it, you're likely seeing a less than 2% conversion rate on average. So I'm going to show you some examples. The first example that I found from Ion Interactive's sample list that they had on their website was this one from the Content Marketing Institute. Here you can see where the user's prompted to choose their category. There isn't really anywhere to scroll. There's are you a B2B or are you looking for B2C? And then you start down the path of kind of choosing which direction you want to go. I don't know how deep this particular rabbit hole goes, but here it goes. Does your organization use content marketing? Yes or no? Describe who you are. So what you're doing is essentially having a virtual conversation with the user. Now, when you've gone through 4 or 5 of these particular questions, do you really want to start all over on another website? Not really. You've kind of already had a conversation. The site's already showed you that it understands what your needs are because it's asking questions that are personalized to you based on your previous responses. So there's There's already that connection that the user has made with the website. And this works. I mean, you saw the data, 10% conversion rate. It's pretty amazing. So let's go into some examples that aren't quite as pretty or as corporate. So here's the site PoolPro. PoolPro has a few different questions on their homepage to find out more about you as a user. First, it's, select your county. Well, I'm in Palm Beach. And then it says, is your pool salt or chlorine, right? The form that was here prior to this particular widget that's on the homepage now converted at about 0.8%, if I recall. So it was a very, very low conversion rate because it had a form. What's your name? What's your phone number? What's the best time to reach you? And any other information, and then click submit. And so there was no virtual conversation. It was just, hey, you're here, fill out your info and we'll contact you. Instead, what you're doing is you're customizing the experience to give the user some options. Watch what happens when I get to the end of this. So I get to the end of these questions and answers, and it gives me a little quote. So we can customize the output that the user sees on the final page based on the input that they provided using those drop-downs. I didn't have to type anything, which is great for a mobile user, of course, because mobile users usually only have one hand available because they're doing something else like driving like they shouldn't be with the other. So in this example, we were able to click through as a mobile user, if we were, and get some information that is personalized for us. And now the user has a phone number to call. They have a custom quote, which could have some time sensitivity to it because you never know when websites are going to change their content. And then you put in your information and submit. Now the site gets a much higher conversion rate, somewhere between 6 and 7%, as I recall. Continue down to look at another example. So here is a rehabilitation center. This one has 2 questions at the top to help identify who you are and take you to the right part of the website. Are you here to help a loved one, or are you here to help yourself? You choose one or the other. So immediately it's not just saying fill out a form, which was on here, and then they tried contact us, right? Now it's talking to you. It's asking you a question. It cares about what you need. It doesn't just try to shove something in your face. They did something else that was interesting. Instead of just pulling them into the conversion path, they said, let's ask some questions, informative questions that show that we know a little bit about what we do. So here's a question, and you click yes or no, and you click yes or no, and then you click yes or no, and then boom. What happens is this little light box appears, and here's where you've got the ability to give them a strong headline, to give them some authenticity with who you are as a company, a call to action which uses some sales principles. This one uses scarcity, don't lose another day to addiction, and then there's a quick little form with not a lot of fields, where I believe previously there were probably like 20 different fields. Now there's just first name, last name, how can we help, a phone number, and an optional email. Much shorter. In fact, in some cases, probably just start with first name, and then you can edit their information in your CRM once they've contacted you. The fewer fields you can put on your form, the higher your conversion rate, almost guaranteed. Let's look at another example. Here's a website that helps you to get a title loan for your car. So you're broke and need to go borrow some money, you own the title for your car. You get to this web page and it says, how much would you like to borrow? Right away. There's nothing else, there's nothing distracting, there's no buttons anywhere else. It just asks you, how much would you like to borrow? And let's say we want to borrow $3,500. And then we click the Get Cash button. And then it asks us a question. Hey, is your car paid off or not? And you can put, yeah, it's paid off. And then it takes you to a page based on the answer that you put in. And in this case, it does have that longer form where we probably could just get their first name and phone number and then have another button that says continue. That way we can at least reach out to them if they don't complete the form all the way. But again, an example from the homepage showing how a site that started at a very, very low conversion rate now gets a much higher response rate because we've personalized the experience and created that conversation. Let's look at 2 more. So here's an attorney. And this attorney doesn't have a big form on their homepage. Instead, they have 2 buttons. One is learn about the no fee guarantee. So you can learn a little bit more and feel safe and secure, or you want to know right away, do I have a case or not? And so those are the 2 buttons, not contact us, not name, phone number, email, but 2 buttons. Start that conversation out. Let's look at one more final example. In this one, rather than using buttons, they used a drop down, and the drop down allows you to choose a specific injury type. So for them it was, hey, I was in a car accident, hey, I was hurt in someone else's property, it was a medical error or negligence. And then, there's no button, you just select the one that's most relevant to you, and then it takes you to that part of the page that will hopefully answer or solve your problems. I think they could do a little bit better with drilling in and asking more questions, but at the end of the day, at least they have something other than a contact us button and or a form. Now they can actually have a little bit of a conversation with you and make the experience a little bit more personalized. So anyway, this is Steve Wiedemann. These are the best examples that I have to show you with how conversion funnels and conversion paths and A/B testing conversion paths work. And hopefully this was useful and informative. If you have any questions, please send me an email. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.